The Battle of Teutoburg Forest in 9 AD is one of the most dramatic and devastating defeats in Roman history. Picture this: 3 entire Roman legions, led by the experienced general Publius Quinctilius Varus, marching confidently through a dense, unfamiliar forest in Germania. Suddenly they are ambushed by a coalition of Germanic tribes, led by the cunning and strategic Arminius, a former Roman ally. The result? A catastrophic loss for Rome that would halt its expansion into Germania and reshape the future of the Roman Empire. Why did this battle occur, and how did the mighty Roman legions fall to a seemingly inferior force? What were the long-term consequences of this stunning defeat? Today, we'll delve into the gripping details of the Battle of Teutoburg Forest, exploring the background, the key players, and the battle's enduring legacy. This is a story of strategy, betrayal, and the harsh realities of ancient warfare that left an indelible mark on history. Imagine the chaos as the Roman soldiers struggled through the muddy terrain, their formations broken, their spirits crushed by the relentless assault. What tactical errors led to such a disaster? How did Arminius, once a trusted ally, orchestrate this devastating blow? Join us as we unravel these mysteries and more. So buckle up as we journey back to 9 AD and uncover the events that led to one of Rome's most notorious military disasters. To understand the significance of the Battle of Teutoburg Forest, we need to dive into the historical context leading up to it. By the 1st century AD, the Roman Empire had expanded its territories across Europe, Africa, and Asia, bringing immense wealth and power. The Romans, with their highly disciplined legions and superior engineering skills, seemed unstoppable. Their next target was Germania, a region inhabited by various tribes that Rome considered barbaric and in need of civilization. The Roman expansion into Germania was spearheaded by Publius Quinctilius Varus, a seasoned general known for his administrative skills. Varus was tasked with the mission of turning Germania into a fully fledged Roman province, similar to Gaul. His strategy relied heavily on establishing alliances with local tribes and enforcing Roman law and order. One key figure in this strategy was Arminius, a chieftain of the Cherusci tribe. Arminius had been raised and educated in Rome, where he became a Roman citizen and even a trusted officer in the Roman auxiliary forces. Varus trusted Arminius deeply, believing that his loyalty to Rome would help in pacifying the Germanic tribes. However, Arminius had different plans. Despite his Roman education and status, he remained loyal to his native people. He secretly began to unite the Germanic tribes against the Roman forces. Arminius knew the Romans' tactics and weaknesses, which made him a formidable opponent. Germania itself was a challenging terrain for the Romans. The dense forests, marshy grounds, and unpredictable weather were in stark contrast to the open fields and roads that the Roman legions were accustomed to. The Germanic tribes were familiar with this landscape and used it to their advantage, employing guerrilla tactics that were difficult for the Romans to counter. The strategic importance of Germania to Rome cannot be overstated. Controlling Germania would have meant securing the northeastern frontier of the Roman Empire, providing a buffer against potential invasions from even more distant tribes. It would also open up new resources and trade routes, further enriching the empire. As Varus and his legions marched deeper into Germania, they were unaware that Arminius was laying the groundwork for a massive rebellion. The stage was set for a confrontation that would test the might of Rome against the resolve of the Germanic tribes. The Roman legions, disciplined and powerful, were walking into a carefully laid trap, their fate sealed by the very man they thought was an ally. As the Roman legions ventured deeper into Germania, Varus remained confident in his mission to transform the region into a Roman province. The year was 9 AD, and Varus had recently established his headquarters in the heart of Germania, using his administrative prowess to enforce Roman laws and customs. Despite the outward appearance of control, unrest simmered beneath the surface. Arminius, the trusted ally of Rome, was orchestrating a grand deception. Though he had served Rome faithfully, his true allegiance lay with the Germanic tribes. Arminius understood that the only way to secure lasting freedom for his people was to unite the fractious tribes against their common enemy. He began secretly rallying the tribes, exploiting their shared resentment of Roman rule. Varus, unaware of Arminius's betrayal, prepared to lead his legions back to their winter quarters. As they marched through the dense and treacherous Teutoburg Forest, Arminius seized the opportunity to execute his plan. He convinced Varus that a minor uprising in the area required immediate attention. Trusting Arminius completely, Varus diverted his legions from their path, leading them deeper into the forest. The Roman legions, accustomed to open battles and well-defined roads, struggled with the forest's thick underbrush and narrow trails. The weather turned against them, with heavy rains turning the ground into a quagmire, further slowing their progress. Spirits were dampened, but Varus remained resolute. Relying on his experience and the loyalty of his men, Arminius used this time to position the Germanic warriors strategically. Familiar with the terrain, they prepared ambush points along the Roman route. The tribes had amassed a considerable force. Motivated by the promise of freedom and revenge against the invaders, the stage was meticulously set for an ambush that would shock the Roman Empire to its core. As the Roman legions pressed on, Arminius and his men vanished into the forest under the pretext of scouting ahead. This was the final piece of Arminius's intricate plot. Varus, still oblivious to the impending danger, continued to march his legions through the winding paths of Teutoburg Forest. The Roman soldiers, weary and disoriented, were unaware that they were walking into a deadly trap. The dense foliage masked the movements of the Germanic warriors, who silently took their positions. The tension mounted as the Romans unwittingly moved closer to their doom. The ominous silence of the forest, broken only by the sounds of nature, contrasted sharply with the chaos that was about to unfold, sealing the fate of Varus and his legions. As the Roman legions marched through the dense Teutoburg Forest, the atmosphere grew tense. The once orderly columns of soldiers were now stretched thin, struggling to navigate the narrow, muddy paths. The relentless rain soaked their armor, making every step laborious. Varus, trusting Arminius's guidance, pushed his men forward, unaware of the imminent danger. Suddenly, the silence of the forest was shattered by war cries. The Germanic tribes, hidden in the underbrush, launched a ferocious attack. Arrows rained down upon the Roman soldiers, and the once organized legion fell into chaos. The dense forest restricted their movements, preventing them from forming their usual defensive formations. The Germanic warriors, led by Arminius, surged forward with brutal efficiency. They used their knowledge of the terrain to outmaneuver the Romans, striking swiftly and vanishing back into the trees. The Romans, unprepared for such tactics, found themselves overwhelmed. Varus attempted to rally his troops, but the confusion and fear were too great. As the battle raged on, the Roman legions were fragmented and isolated. Groups of soldiers were cut off from each other, making coordinated defense impossible. The Germanic tribes pressed their advantage, exploiting every weakness. The sounds of battle echoed through the forest, with the cries of the wounded and dying filling the air. Varus, realizing the gravity of the situation, tried to regroup his forces. He ordered his men to form a defensive perimeter, but the relentless assault made it nearly impossible. The Roman soldiers, trained for open-field battles, were ill-equipped to fight in such confined and treacherous conditions. Every attempt to counterattack was met with fierce resistance from the Germanic warriors. As night fell, the battle showed no signs of abating. Fires from burning equipment and torches cast eerie shadows among the trees. The rain continued to pour, adding to the misery of the Roman soldiers. Exhausted, demoralized, and outnumbered, they struggled to hold their ground. The Germanic tribes, driven by their desire for freedom and vengeance, showed no mercy. They knew this was their best chance to rid their land of the Roman invaders once and for all. Arminius, at the forefront, directed the attacks with ruthless precision, his knowledge of Roman tactics proving invaluable. As the Roman forces dwindled, Varus faced the harsh reality that his legions were doomed. The once mighty Roman army, feared and respected across the known world, was being systematically destroyed in the depths of the Teutoburg Forest. This ambush would go down in history as one of Rome's greatest military disasters, a testament to the power of strategic cunning and the ferocity of a people fighting for their homeland. The aftermath of the Battle of Teutoburg Forest was devastating for the Roman Empire. The news of the catastrophic defeat reached Rome, shocking the entire empire. Emperor Augustus was reportedly so distraught that he wandered the halls of his palace shouting, "Quintilius Varus, give me back my legions!" The loss of 3 legions, along with their commanders and auxiliary troops, was a blow from which the Roman military would take years to recover. The immediate consequence of the battle was a shift in Roman military strategy. The Romans abandoned their ambitions of expanding further into Germania. The Rhine River became the de facto border of the Roman Empire in the north, a frontier that would remain for centuries. The territories east of the Rhine were left to the Germanic tribes, who continued to resist Roman influence fiercely. The psychological impact on Rome was profound. The myth of Roman invincibility was shattered, and the defeat forced the Romans to reassess their military tactics. They began to build more fortifications along the borders and adopted a more defensive posture. The Roman legions were reorganized, and stricter training protocols were implemented to prevent such disasters in the future. The Battle of Teutoburg Forest also had long-term effects on Roman leadership. Varus's failure led to closer scrutiny of the commanders appointed to lead Roman armies. Future generals were chosen for their proven military acumen rather than political connections. This change aimed to ensure competent leaders were at the helm, capable of handling the complexities of warfare in hostile territories. For the Germanic tribes, the victory at Teutoburg Forest became a symbol of unity and resistance. Arminius, the mastermind behind the ambush, was celebrated as a hero and a liberator. His success in uniting the tribes against a common enemy demonstrated the potential for Germanic unity. However, this unity was short-lived as infighting among the tribes resumed after the battle. In Rome, the memory of Teutoburg Forest endured as a cautionary tale. The defeat was a stark reminder of the dangers of underestimating one's enemy and the consequences of overextending an empire. The Romans commemorated the fallen soldiers with monuments and annual rituals, ensuring that the lessons learned from the defeat were not forgotten. The Battle of Teutoburg Forest remains a pivotal moment in history, marking the end of Roman expansion into Germania and the beginning of a more defensive approach to empire building. The battle's legacy is a testament to the resilience and adaptability of the Roman military, as well as a sobering reminder of the costs of imperial ambition. If you enjoyed this journey back in time, like, share, comments, and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. This is History Replay This Day.